Hi everyone, this is Nick from Buddha Gaming, gaming with a dash of chill. In today's subject, I wanted to hit on the recent rumours of the PlayStation 5. As many of you may have already heard, there's a top analyst, goes by the name of Damien Thong, and Damien's predictions have come pretty, have borne out through in the past with both PlayStation Pro and the PlayStation Slim. Obviously this guy is an industry analyst. He tends to know things before the general public will hear them, whisperings and whatnot. So yeah, this guy's prediction is that we'll see the PlayStation 5 much sooner than we all have expected. Like I say, he's privy to information we are not, but I feel that of all his predictions, this one may be a bit far off left field, and I feel like that for one main reason being that Sony is still the industry leader in terms of consoles sold. There's been some recent news that Sony's recently shipped, not sold, 60 million consoles worldwide, which is very impressive. I think, I could be wrong on this, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's in line with the same time and the same figures within the PlayStation 2's life cycle. So if that's the case, if it really does have those kind of legs, then we're looking at some major sales by the end of the lifetime of the PlayStation 4. One of the main reasons I don't believe that we're going to see the PlayStation anytime before, I think 2019, 2020, I would say, really, maybe 2020. I'd say 2019 is because Sony have just invested a lot of money in releasing the PlayStation Pro. I'm not sure how well that's really doing, but I can imagine a lot of angry consumers having the Pro for a couple of years before the PlayStation 5 ships. Also, I would think that they'd like to maybe concentrate on getting some sales for VR. PlayStation VR doesn't seem to be the hot topic on anyone's minds right now, so I would have thought that they'd have tried to, got a few killer apps behind that first. I am sure that the PlayStation 5 R&D process is already long and well underway, and it's probably a very fleshed out thing by now. But to have the product in the marketplace right now, it would seem a bit how would you say, like a bit like maybe playing all your cards, maybe playing all your hands before you need to. Sony really doesn't have to do anything for the first year of Scorpio's release, and maybe whatever Scorpio does, if Scorpio does well, I'm sure that might change the consideration and the timeline of the PlayStation 5. But if Sony remains the industry leader, I don't see really why they would release a PlayStation 5. It seems like it seems a bit of a preemptive strike to me, so I'm not sure that's the case. But we'll stay tuned, and I'll report on anything that I hear coming forward on that. But speaking of PlayStation 5, it did get me wondering what, as a PlayStation fan, I would like to see from PlayStation 5. There's a few things that come to mind. One of the most basic things that I think both PlayStation 4 and Xbox One will both be bringing to the future is, I can't see a future where neither of these consoles are backwards compatible anymore. We've seen the success of the backwards compatibility on Xbox One with the Xbox One program, and it's got some really good backward compatible games. I'm less sure about PlayStation given Gaikai and whatnot, but I think that all PlayStation 5 should be backward compatible, at least with PlayStation 4. That way you're not running the risk of enraging the adopters of the PlayStation Pro Obviously the guys who picked up the PlayStation 4 on launch are probably more than happy to invest in a new console. Myself, I'm kind of happy where I am. I don't really feel like they've got everything out of this hardware that they could have. You got to think some of these PlayStation 3 games that were brought out on towards the end of the life cycle of PlayStation 3, and you know the voodoo witchcraft that they kind of pulled off with the cell processor, i.e. The Last of Us, GTA 5. You know, these were extraordinary titles that came towards the end of, well, many would argue really when, not the end of the life cycle, but as the life cycle was already kind of dying. And I think it's the same with the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. I think we've still got better things to see on both sides. But yeah, so I predict definitely backward compatible to a PlayStation 4. I think that would be, it would be madness not to. Another thing I would like to see, and it's again, I suppose it might be an obvious thing to some, but it doesn't seem that obvious to these game companies. I would like to see all the features that are on the PlayStation 4 make it over to the PlayStation 5. And some people might think that's a bit of an asinine thing to say, a bit silly, but you've got to think when we got PlayStation 4, we're only just getting things really now like custom backgrounds and, you know, folders and just silly things that we should have really had from day one. We had this on PlayStation 3. It just seems like it seems like you go back over, you know, you take a step forward, you take 2 steps back sometimes with these new consoles. So I would like to see all the features of PlayStation 4, i.e. the SHAREfactory, pictures, you know, folders, all that good stuff. I'd like to see that all day one. Maybe some new features as well. Maybe a built-in podcasting feature. That would be really cool with the popularity of podcasting these days. How cool would it be if they had a kind of a Google Hangouts of sorts, but built into the PlayStation 5? I think it might encourage new content creators. You know, more choice is always a good thing. I think that would be something cool to look out for. In terms of power and specs, I'm not really a spec guy. I listen to people like Mads Gamer, Kofi, people like this for things like specs. But what I would say is, I think this 4K push this generation, I feel it was a bit, how would you say, maybe I think they overstepped the mark a little bit. I think what gamers would have actually preferred would be, you know, solid 60 frames per second, 1080. I know I would be happy with that. So maybe if that was more of a choice in the next generation, maybe you could opt for 4K, or you could go with, you know, your 1080 60 frames per second. You know, I'm not saying turn it into a PC, not by any measure, because that's not really my style of gaming, but giving the gamers a choice would be a good thing. So I'd expect to see something like that on the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox 2 or Xbox or whatever, you know, we're going to go with. Their features, I think, would be they'd be very foolish not to look into that avenue. A lot of people have spoken about physical media. There's been a lot of stories on how physical media is a dying commodity and everyone's going digital this generation. I can only really speak for myself, but I know certainly I have gone very heavy-handed on the digital, and I'm not the person who really likes it. I usually like to have my game collection. I like to have games there, and I like to be able to, you know, pass them on to my friends, say, give that a go, you know. But this generation, I haven't found that to be the case. And given in the light of recent figures, maybe that's a way that these console companies can look into bringing down the costs of the consoles. You know, it's sticking a Blu-ray drive in there. I don't know what that kind of equates to money-wise, but I'm sure over a console's lifespan, it's gonna it's going to amass to a large amount saved. So maybe that's the way to look at cutting back the cost a bit. Also things like Blu-ray players and ultra Blu-ray players, I think the choice is nice. It'd be good to maybe have a SKU where you could get that, but I've got to think back to the times I've used my PlayStation 4 for Blu-rays, and can maybe name a handful of times. My PlayStation 3 has kind of become my de facto Blu-ray player. My PlayStation 4 is used primarily for gaming, so maybe they'll look into getting rid of something like that and giving us, you know, maybe more RAM, better CPU or something like that, you know. So just spitballing. They're just a few ideas that I think I'd like to see. Let me know what you think. It'd be great to hear from you in the comment section. If you could maybe like the video and comment below. It'd be nice to have a bit of a discussion. So that's Nick from Buddy Gaming. Hope the day finds you well. Thanks for listening, guys. Take care.